influx of volunteer support. Today I was in York and we launched a canvas, a bunch of people going out and knocking doors. And yesterday we were on City Island. We launched a canvas where we had 20 plus people out knocking doors, and people are going out all day on Saturday, all day on Sunday. We had someone who knocked doors for 7 hours for us yesterday, literally just all day knocking doors. And we are seeing the power of a people-powered campaign, not corporate interest-powered campaign, but people, because we've centered the people on this campaign. And one of those people that we center in our campaign is your community. Because what has taken place in this country over the last year and few months under this administration is unacceptable, and it's un-American. Seeing families torn apart, seeing no due process, seeing individuals that came to our country as refugees that are being threatened with deportation, and not just threatened, but they're doing deportation back to a country that drove them out only to drive them out again. It is heartbreaking, and we need leaders that can say it's wrong. We need leaders that can stand up for the constituents in their communities. When I chose to run for this office in the summer of last year, when I made that choice, your community was on my heart and my mind, because I was concerned that you were not going to have a representative in DC fighting for you. And I feel like as a commissioner, I've seen a front row seat to the challenges that we face, not just in the Bhutanese Nepali community, but in all immigrant communities right now. And I just want to say, it's an honor to be with you today. It's an honor that you took time out of your Sunday. You could be anywhere else, but you're here. And I'm incredibly grateful for that. I think we have a really, really, really good chance to pull off one of the biggest upsets across the United States. And I mean that. No popular Washington, D.C. insider thinks we have a chance. But what we know is we've activated people. We've activated the people that actually turn out and vote. And if we pull off this victory, it's going to make them have to care about the working class again. It's going to make them have to care about their neighbor in a way they've never had to before. So many times Washington, D.C. makes our choices for us before we ever get a say in the ballot, through who they make sure they resource in a primary. They're doing that again right here in Pennsylvania's 10th district. They've chosen their candidate, but the people are the ones who vote. And so you showing up today and showing your support to this campaign, it means so much. And even just looking over at the time that was taken to build, put the wall together there and the pictures we're going to take in front of it, I'm so grateful to those volunteers who helped put that together, to everyone who's mobilizing to support the campaign. Let me just tell you a little bit about who I am if we've never met. I was born in Palm Springs, California. Grew up in a very poor family in Palm Springs, California. We lived in a trailer park. My dad grew up in Indiana, so we moved back to Indiana, and I grew up on a farm in Indiana. Then I lived in Northern Virginia for a while after college, and then Boston for a while, then Wisconsin. My wife and I had all three of our kids in Wisconsin, and then we moved here in 2015. We found central Pennsylvania. Many of you might have been here before I was here, even in central Pennsylvania. And we found this region to be just such an amazing region, a place where we can lay down roots and build our family, connect with our community, and connect with our neighbors. And we feel very strongly that a good leader protects their neighbors. A good leader loves their neighbors, stands up for their neighbors. And that's something that's central to this campaign. If I get to Washington, it's going to be one of my largest priorities to stop what ICE is doing, to stop what they've been doing in our streets in Minnesota, in Chicago, in LA, and all throughout this country. But even more, as I've met with many of your leaders, trying to find ways that we can somehow normalize relations with Bhutan, to see if family members can see their loved ones again, to see if there's a way that we can open up the relations to where people have the ability to travel and go back to their homeland. These are things that, because you're a community that I should be representing in Congress, this is how our representatives should be thinking. They should be meeting with people. Unfortunately, the person who holds that seat right now won't even have town halls, won't even meet with the people. As a commissioner, I've held town halls regularly. Every quarter, we hold a town hall. I actually have one coming up this week. It's a prison town hall. And I do that because when I'm connected to the people, I learn the issues. I learn the challenges that they have in their life. And I want to try to address that. I want to see how we can lead together and fix the problems they're dealing with. In our campaign, we're not taking any corporate PAC money. And that means we've made a commitment to say, too often, business owners, billionaires, they buy the politicians. And then when the politicians get into power, they make decisions not for us in the room, but for the billionaires. They write the legislation for the billionaires, for the corporations, but they don't write the legislation thinking about us. Our average gift to our campaign is $26. $26. We've never taken PAC money. We have no PAC money that we've taken at all. The reason we're doing that is because we believe strongly that how we get to Washington is going to influence how we lead when we get there. And so you showing up tonight, listening, learning about the campaign, but also considering giving a gift would be amazing, because every dollar in this campaign matters. It's how we get signs, it's how we get yard signs, it's how we get literature to hand out. It's how we ultimately are thinking about, even right now, do we have enough money before May 19th to get a billboard? That kind of stuff. It's moments like these and groups like these that have allowed us to get over the hump and get even more money and get even more opportunity to get my name out there in front of people and pull off what will be one of the biggest upsets across the United States. And so you have a really important part to play in that. The bigger part, though, is that you make sure you're registered to vote. And if you are registered to vote, make sure you're registered, if you want to vote for me at least, Democrat, because you have to be registered Democrat. That's how this process works of what's called a primary election. If you're a registered Democrat, you get a chance to pick the candidate that you best think represents you in the general. And then in the general, you'll vote again. And you can be any party to vote in the general, but to vote in this primary, the Democratic primary, you have to be a Democrat. And so I'm so honored and grateful, and I'm sure we got more going on tonight, but I think there was a time for questions too, so I'll let you lead that. But just know how grateful I am for you spending time with me this evening, and anything that I can be hearing, learning about your community. Obviously, I've got to know your leaders so much and learn so much about your community, but I'm always wanting to learn more. So thank you.
We as a good neighbor should absolutely support a true leader as well. And finally, when you say that you will be working at this to connect our families with the families that are left behind in Bhutan, that truly melts our heart. And I can guarantee that no any other leader ever said this, and we have never heard this kind of statement. Thank you. Thank you very much, Austin. Having said that, it's time for us to get to a Q&A. If you have any question, please, this is the time. And if there's a microphone for the audience, or if we only have the two, then we can work it out, just the two. Okay, yeah. So I can walk around.
Performance as a Dauphin County Commissioner, how do you do it?
If I was to rate myself, is that what you said?
Yes, sir.
As a county commissioner, how would I rate? Yes, so if I was to talk about my time as a county commissioner and rate my time as a county commissioner, I would say, I ran on prison reform, specifically for Dauphin County Prison. We had some real problems in our prison, and we've been able to make some really substantial changes. We had a medical provider that had not ever been put out to bid, just meaning we had never looked anywhere else for a medical provider. And for 30 years, they'd had that contract without any bids. If you know anything about government, a no-bid contract is a real problem because it typically is linked to corruption. And it turned out that it was linked to corruption, that they were paying one of the commissioners. And so we got the opportunity to reopen that contract, to put it out to bid, and ultimately to get a new medical provider that I believe is providing much better care for our inmates. I'm very proud of that. I'm proud of the work we did to do that. We also raised minimum wage for our workers. In my first few months in office, I had a janitor walk into my office, asked to meet with me. I met with the janitor, he showed me his paycheck, pushed his paycheck across my desk. And he said, I've been working here, I think 12 years. And he was making just over $13 an hour. And he said, I'm working full time, how am I supposed to live off this? And we raised minimum wage to $16 an hour. And while I don't think we're where we need to be with wages for our workers, we have a long way to go. I do think it was really meaningful and impactful for people like him and others who were struggling to get by. We also, expanded voting access. We had 2 ballot drop boxes across the entire county, but now we have 7. We have ballot curing now. If you don't know what that is, if you mail in your ballot, but you put it in the wrong envelope, or you sign in the wrong place, or you date it the wrong way, you'll get the opportunity to come fix that, where previously you would not get the opportunity to come fix that on election day. And that would mean your vote just didn't count if you filled it out the wrong way. And we know how important it is because hundreds of people every single election cycle fill it out the wrong way. And so the opportunity to make sure that their vote counts, that was really important to me. I could list a number of other things we've done too. We celebrated Pride for the first time as a community, as a county. We did town halls for our prison, which I mentioned earlier. Every quarter, every 3 months, we do a town hall for the prison. So I get to meet with families who have loved ones in our jail and learn more about how I can advocate for them, community organizers as well. So we've done a lot of, I think, really important things. And it's that kind of leadership that I think matters in this race. I'm the only one on the Democratic ticket with experience. I'm the only one who's ran a race and won a race. And I didn't just win a race, I won a race in a county that was held by Republicans for over 100 years. And we flipped it Democrat for the first time in over 100 years. More so though, what I ran on, what I advocated for when I was running, I accomplished when I sat in the seat. And voting record matters because you already got a glimpse into how I'm going to represent my constituents as a county commissioner. That's the same level that I'm going to bring to Washington. The same tenacity that I've fought against corruption, I'm going to bring that to fight against a president whose family has profited $4 billion since he took office a year and a half ago. $4 billion they've profited. That's unacceptable because, to be frank, you're getting screwed and they're getting ahead. And that's unacceptable. We have to send people to Washington who are going to fight that. And so I'm very proud of my record as a commissioner. And if I get the opportunity to be a congressman, I still get to represent Dauphin County. I just get to represent it in Washington. And it'll be even more influence to fight for the things that matter most. Thank you for the question, Vishwa.
How do you see, or what is your understanding about the diversity in the American society? And how do you see for the new Americans?
Diversity in the American society. And how do I see new Americans?
Yeah.
One of the most resilient groups that I meet. One of the things that's been an absolute honor as a commissioner is that I go to the courthouse every time we have what's called a naturalization ceremony, where I see new people become Americans for the first time. And I meet them, I shake their hands, I get to know them and their families, and I see people who bring a richness to our country. They have gone through so much to get to that point. And their hard work, their integrity, their desire to give back to America, their thankfulness for being part of this country, it is something that is incredibly patriotic and it is under-celebrated in our country. And it makes me proud to be an American when I'm in that room, seeing people become new Americans. And I think more Americans would benefit from coming to one of those ceremonies and seeing that process, hearing people's stories. So certainly, I think we're living in a time right now where many politicians are creating fear around immigrant neighbors. You saw this last election cycle. you saw them say things like they're eating the dogs and they're eating the cats, the silliest stuff you've ever heard, but it was all about trying to create fear. It was all about trying to create hatred toward people. And the more you actually get to know people, the more you learn your neighbor's name, the more you try to understand your neighbor's story, the more you realize how important these new Americans are to the fabric of our democracy. And so I, for one, see it as a great asset and value of America. Thank you for the question.
Nice to meet you. Justin, as you have known that we have lived a very long time of a span in displacement and statelessness and everything. With that, I think it's almost become a habit for us to stay in the victim mentalhood. And with the fear rhetorics and everything happening, I think it's become very easy for us to be more fearful than our normal victimhood even. And especially in the last few years, I think that has been the trend. Even among us, the so-called English, we speak better English than most of the population, but still there's that fear inside us. And I think that comes from being labeled as victims by external and our internal selves as well. So my question is, because you have lived with us, you have said that you know our community very well. My question is, what do you, like it's a personal question, think about us? Do you think we live in victim mentality? Or how are we faring in comparisons to other immigrants is my question. The other prompt question related to that same mentality and the attitude that we have is, because again, putting your relationship with our community, how do you think will help us and help you when you go to Washington, D.C.? And if you can stay within that attitude and the fear rhetoric and our attitude of victimhood and fear that we have been normalizing, I should say. So if you can stick within that and explain to us, I think it'll help me, maybe the group as well, but for me, I think it's a personal question as well.
Yeah. I would start here. I don't have the scars or the wounds that someone who, had to leave their homeland has, right? I don't know that life. I'm seeing you on this side, right? Maybe healed up some from those scars, but also still those are very real, right? I don't consider that a victim mentality. I just consider that a human reality, and it's hard I can only imagine it's incredibly hard to wish you could be in your homeland, to wish you could be with family that maybe is still there, to wish things were different. I can empathize with that, but I have never lived that. So I haven't seen a victim mentality as much as I've seen a need for support. We have mental health services in Dauphin County that we deploy to a lot of communities. It's been a priority of mine to ensure that those services are deployed properly to all different communities, not just the Bhutanese Nepali, but certainly the Bhutanese Nepali, because some people receive those resources differently based on their tradition or background or culture. And so ensuring that we're doing culturally competent work that gets it into the hands of the right people. I will say this, I hope that my run for Congress can represent a time in which the Bhutanese and Nepali can feel a sense of pride and power. And I don't mean power in a negative sense of, holding power over somebody, but power in the sense of recognizing that your voice matters, not just here locally, but in Washington. And the more you can register your community to vote, and the more your community turns out to vote, the more politicians have to listen to you, and you have to be at the seat of power. You get a chance to be at the seat of power. And so I do think that is a way of reclaiming some of that victim mentality of saying we actually can flip that narrative if we get involved, if we show up, because they can't ignore us. And while there will always be people who say mean, hurtful things, unfortunately, in our world, the response to that, I think, is showing up with love and grace and also recognizing your role to play in shaping a better world. And I've seen that in this community in my time interacting with the community. So I really do hope this campaign reflects a call to action, not just for this campaign, not just for this election cycle, not just for May 19th or November, but beyond. Seeing that the more you organize, the more you get a chance to shape a future that reflects the type of world you want to see for not just you, but your kids and your kids' kids. And, you know, the opportunity to center what's great about immigrants in America, you know, because I think that story is not told enough. When you ask, what can I change in Washington? I don't know what I can change in Washington. Unfortunately, Washington doesn't work very well right now. And I will be one member of 435 members. I can't guarantee I can change anything. Here's the commitment I have made, though. I'm going to show up and I'm going to work really hard to change things. I'm also going to hire a member of the Nepali Bhutanese community to my staff, because I think that matters in representation. And you know, I want to represent the community of Pennsylvania's 10th district, not just in Washington, but in the type of staff that I hire. And that gives me an opportunity to ask them how they're experiencing decisions that I'm making. It allows me to ask them, you know, how's your community feeling right now? How are things? You know, not that I won't be very present, but it gives me another touch point to stay connected. And ultimately, like I mentioned earlier, I do think there's something to say about, you know, meeting with leaders. If I had the opportunity to meet with President Trump, I would meet with him to talk about, you know, that we're committing international, you know, we're not allowed to be making people stateless. You know, that's something we're not supposed to do based on international law. And we're doing that every time we deport somebody back to Bhutan. And so, you know, calling for a halt in that, and seeing if there's openness to that, and seeing if there's openness to how we might be able to normalize relations with Bhutan so that families in my district can visit their loved ones or their loved ones can visit them. I think those are things that I have the ability to advocate for that don't require 435 people to vote, right? It just requires getting in front of the right people, even people I deeply disagree with on a number of things, but I've had to work with people I disagree with as a commissioner, right? And so that's a little bit of what I would do and a little bit about how I would answer that question, but thank you so much. That's a very thoughtful question.
Namaste, Miranam, Justin Douglas, ho.